an unearthed grave, and a vengeful ghost. Don't miss out. The psychics will reveal a chilling family secret, but can they stop the otherworldly killer? This is Psychic Investigations, a channel of true and amazing stories. There are only shocking paranormal phenomena and resonant criminal cases here, investigated by the people who call themselves clairvoyants. In this episode, Lyudmila Litovchenko from Ukraine seeks help from the psychics. She claims that her entire family is destined to die soon.
I simply don't want to bury my children.
Lyudmila is 46. She works as an accountant and has a son and a daughter. Everything in her life would have been wonderful if not for one horrifying event. Her brother Ruslan dug up their mother's grave several years ago.
He unearthed it, and you could see the coffin.
It happened the following day after their mother's funeral. She had died of a stroke. Ruslan couldn't even remember why or how he did this.
He said he didn't remember.
The medics concluded that Ruslan suffered from a nervous disorder due to extreme grief and stress, causing him to lose control. He couldn't bear the loss of the dearest person he adored, especially given that, in their mother's eyes, he was always the favorite among her 5 children.
He was always Mom's dearest boy.
Lyudmila knew that disturbing a grave sealed by a priest could invite punishment from the restless soul of a deceased person. So, she worried that her brother's act would bring calamity upon their family. And within a week, Lyudmila's fears became reality. A fire broke out in Ruslan's house, where he lived alone after a divorce. Ruslan almost burned alive and was taken to the hospital with severe burns.
They couldn't save his leg and had to amputate it. It was terrifying.
The firefighters determined that the cause of the fire was an electric heater. However, according to the family, the device was new and all the wiring in the house was in good condition. But this tragic incident was only the beginning. Soon, Ruslan's only daughter hanged herself at home. She was only 22.
I didn't believe it until I saw her.
The reason behind this horrifying act by a successful student and a future bride remains a mystery for the family.
She inspired me with her zest for life. She never gave up.
2 funerals and a horrible fire in the family within such a short period. And soon, right before Lyudmila's eyes, her own daughter almost burned alive.
It was terrifying.
Lyudmila and her 19-year-old daughter, Lisa, were cleaning up their yard. As everyone else, they were burning dry leaves in the autumn. Suddenly, without warning, Lisa fainted and fell into the flames. Panicked, her mother pulled her out of the fire. The young beauty suffered serious burns.
Here's the scar. And I've got a big one on my arm.
An ambulance arrived. They rushed her to the intensive care unit. It was agonizing to watch her suffer.
Lyudmila and her daughter are convinced that all these events in their family are connected to the disturbed grave of Lyudmila's mother.
I fear for my family.
Our project's psychics, Zhana Shulakova and Rubina Tsibulska, stepped in to help Lyudmila's family.
I worked with the photo of Lyudmila's family, and the cards told me to look for the one who's forbidden to approach the grave. The answer lies with the twins and
a love triangle. Here's what my mirror showed me. An empty room with a coffin in the middle of it, containing a dead young woman in a wedding dress. A teenage girl leans over her, lowering a wedding veil onto her face. Then I heard the whisper of the dead girl. She said to the teenager, "You're next."
Could it be the future of Lyudmila's daughter, Lisa?
No. The girl in the coffin wasn't her. Nor was it Lisa who lowered the veil.
The next morning, the psychics are ready to set out to meet Lyudmila.
I need to buy a phone. Last night, I kept thinking about the girl in the coffin, and suddenly, I saw her spirit. She told me I should give a new phone to someone.
But how will you find out who?
I don't know it yet, but I feel it's very important.
Hello?
Hello.
We've been looking forward to meeting you. I fear for my children.
I sense cold behind Lisa. Do you feel someone near you?
Yes.
It turns out that recently, Lisa has been seeing the silhouette of a man. His terrifying gaze seems to paralyze her and take away her speech.
I saw him. He looked at me malevolently.
And you, Lyudmila, do you also sense him?
I do. What do we do?
I suggest summoning your mother's spirit and asking her.
Lyudmila, what was your mother's name?
Allah.
I see her. And I smell a fragrance. You know, something sweet.
She had a favorite perfume called Shahrazad. I can still remember it vividly.
I also felt Grandma standing between me and Mom.
She says, I love you very much.
She will never harm your family.
She's embracing you.
Such warmth. I love you very, very much. Help us.
Her grave had been indeed disturbed. I advised Lyudmila to seek a priest's help to seal it once again.
At that moment, the spirit of Lyudmila's mother began to fade, and she showed something black, like a cross.
A black cross.
Oh God.
What's going on?
I put this ladder here myself. It was standing sound. Why did it fall?
A dead man stood before us, the same spirit that Lisa had seen.
To understand who this enraged spirit was, we needed to work in the house. He seems to be setting a trap for your children.
He'll kill anyone who wants to become a member of this family. Who shut the door?
There was no draft or wind.
There's a young woman standing there. She's dead. I saw her in my vision. An empty room with a coffin in the middle of it, containing a dead young woman in a wedding dress. She's trying to tell me something. Pass on a gift from me. She's waiting.
Who?
The spirit is gone. She probably meant the phone. I saw her in some kind of box. She lay in it like a broken doll.
The answer lies within the family. We must find the woman who practices magic.
My middle sister is said to be a witch.
Lyudmila is talking about one of her two elder sisters, Allah. The locals claim she's a witch because she supposedly reads cards and performs various rituals.
I see Allah curse you. You took her child. What does it mean?
I took her daughter from her after she'd beaten her. Bodana lived with me for a month.
It turns out that Allah has a 13-year-old daughter named Bodana. The girl doesn't know her father, and her mother, according to Lyudmila, neglects her and mercilessly beats her.
Mom said, "Don't you even call me Mom?" She beat me with a branch and an iron scoop. I cried.
How can you hate your own child like that?
Recently, Allah even sent her daughter to an orphanage, claiming it was hard for her to deal with the girl alone. On weekends, children with families are taken home, but Bodana always goes to her aunt's, as her biological mother doesn't want her. Nevertheless, it doesn't stop Allah from coming to her sister's house, creating scenes and ordering her daughter to come home immediately.
I clean the house, wash dishes, and cook, while Mom is busy with her own things, like watching TV.
Why haven't they terminated her parental rights?
She keeps claiming she'll refuse guardianship over her, but she won't do it because she receives financial support as a single mother.
This is disgusting. Does that woman practice magic on top of that?
I see this woman in the doorway whispering something.
She stuck needles in my doorway.
Needles? Allah could have tied the spirit to the needles, the one hunting Lyudmila's family.
Where does she live?
Not far from here.
Good evening.
What do you want?
We want to understand what's threatening Lyudmila's family.
What does that have to do with me?
Why did you curse your sister?
I didn't. If I got angry, I could only punch her at most.
Lyudmila says you cursed her when she took your daughter, the same daughter you constantly mistreat.
That's her problem if she says so.
We'll sort this out now. Give me your hand.
For God's sake.
These hands choked an infant, a tiny one trying to kill it.
I sense the energy of the infant Allah tried to choke nearby. Was it her?
You simply hated her because of her father, who abandoned you.
This woman's name is Yulia, and she's 33 years old. As it turned out, she's Allah's elder daughter.
She refused from me, and her parents took me to save me.
Yulia was adopted by Allah's parents when she was a baby. Her grandparents raised her along with their younger children.
The dead girl in the wedding dress is here again. She was murdered, and she's pointing at you. She's your daughter.
Darina.
She was my sister.
It turned out that it was Allah's another, middle daughter, who had been killed 2 months ago. Darina was only 19.
She was in a large box, lying in it like a broken doll.
Her body was found locked in a suitcase.
Dear God.
It's hard to believe, but the body of the dead girl was indeed found in a suitcase thrown into a garbage container.
We were all shocked.
The locals made this gruesome discovery near one of the high-rise buildings in the nearby town. The girl lived and studied at an industrial college there and worked as a cashier at a coffee shop.
I still can't believe it.
Bodana mourned her sister more than everybody else.
She was going to come to visit me after the new year. She said we'd live together. But it didn't work out.
The forensic experts determined that poor Darina had her neck broken. She was strangled, but her cruel killer hasn't been found yet.
Darina's spirit showed me a young, dark-haired man. She said he killed her out of jealousy. The whole truth will be found in her phone. I sense that Darina communicated with her killer on social media. He's a foreigner.
The family says that Darina indeed dated a foreigner. After the investigation, we learned that the police supposedly found a taxi driver who had picked up a Middle Eastern man. He had a suitcase with him and got out not far from the building where they had found the body.
Darina was killed by a living murderer. But like other family members, she is a victim of an enraged spirit. Her spirit came because she fears for her family, especially her younger sister. She wants to protect her. She says she desperately wanted to call her younger sister, but she couldn't. Now I understand why. She didn't have a phone.
She didn't have one.
This is horrible. A child who lives in an orphanage can't even call her loved ones.
I asked Mom for a phone, even a basic one, just to stay in touch with Darina. But Mom said I didn't need it, and I didn't deserve it.
So this is who Darina asked me to buy a phone for.
Where's Bodana?
It turned out that Bodana's aunts took her to stay with them over the weekend, and so she also came to see the clairvoyants.
I see you standing over your sister's body, alone, holding a white dress.
Is this what Allah made the child do? Dress her dead sister in a wedding gown?
My goodness. Did you dress your sister in a wedding dress?
It was beyond my comprehension. I can't imagine what that girl went through. Now I understand who the mirror showed me before the investigation. My dear girl, your sister asked me to give you a gift from her. She loves you very much.
Darina knew it was my big dream.
I heard Darina's voice. She said, "My mother is only interested in herself. She has no connection to the spirit of the killer, and I'm very grateful to you for the gift to my little sister."
Thank you. Thank you too.
And the next moment, I saw the murderous spirit again, and then something terrible happened.
Wash her face with snow.
Drink, drink, drink the water.
Smelling salt, smelling salt.
Fortunately, Bodana regains consciousness.
The spirit of the enraged man attacked Bodana right before everyone's eyes.
And then the spirit of the murdered Darina showed me some signs.
"12 crosses?
We have a kind of separate little cemetery within the local cemetery. There are 12 graves of our relatives there.
The answer was there.
We need to go to the cemetery." It's horrific. I've never seen anything like this before.
The younger generation of this family is simply dying out. And we couldn't even imagine who the murderous spirit would turn out to be. Whose cross is that?
The black one, my father's.
It's the same cross that the spirit of your mother showed me. She showed something black, like a cross.
It's him, the murderous spirit. Lyudmila, your father is killing his children.
I couldn't even imagine anything like that.
I tuned into the spirit of this man and saw Lyudmila's mother during a ritual. She fears her husband so much that she puts protection on the children and herself. She asked a woman who practices magic for help.
But why did Lyudmila's mother put up the protection? And what does her husband have to do with it?
Rubina, I think I know the reason. It's a love triangle.
I see. And twins.
My brother and I, we're twins.
You and Ruslan, the one who dug up your mother's grave?
Yes.
You and your brother aren't related to your father by blood.
He wasn't their biological father.
The family kept this secret for years. Lyudmila and Ruslan were the youngest of the 5 children in the family. Their mother cheated on her husband and birthed the twins from another man.
Mom fell in love with another man.
It wasn't a fleeting affair between Lyudmila's mother and her biological father. It was an incredible, unconditional love. It had started long before the woman married her husband.
He was her first love. They were going to marry, but Grandpa didn't let her do it.
Lyudmila's mother and her classmate, Oleksandr, fell in love when they were both 16. They never separated. The girl dreamed that Oleksandr would be the father of her future children.
Her parents forced her to marry another man whom she didn't love, but whom they considered a better match for their daughter.
Yes.
She lived her whole life with a man she despised.
Her heart belonged to Oleksandr.
She loved him all her life, and they even dated secretly.
The woman got tired of living a lie, and she confessed everything to her husband. His rage knew no bounds. He wanted to abandon his wife and children, believing none of them were truly his.
Then he cooled down, thought it over, and talked to his wife, and they decided not to destroy their family, and they lived for the sake of their children.
When we were around 13, Mom told us that we weren't blood related to our father.
But her husband couldn't accept her unfaithfulness. He couldn't come to terms with it and constantly vented his anger at his wife.
Yes, he would beat Mom, but she endured it. She always told me, don't live with someone you don't love.
Lyudmila, I sense that your mother was so afraid of her husband that she didn't even want him to visit her grave.
She said, don't let him even come close to me.
Look for the one who's forbidden to approach the grave. I have a feeling of someone walking behind me.
My legs are numb. Please do something.
We must perform the ritual immediately.
We needed to summon the father's spirit, and Ludmila was to ask him to leave the family alone.
Show yourself to us. And right before my eyes, the photograph on the father's tombstone began to develop spots. He's here, and he's ready to listen.
Don't harm my children. It's not their fault.
Go away. I'm closing the path into this world for you. The spots are vanishing. He's gone, and he won't trouble your family anymore.
Thank you so much.
It's incredible what awful consequences the mothers living with the unloved man had for the family. If this story impressed you, don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe to our channel. Many more astonishing investigations are coming up.